Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to Poppy 101, compliance channel of choice, in the not corny way. Yeah, so last time we discussed the principle of accountability under POPIA and the role of the information officer. It is, however, important to be aware that the organization is the responsible party and remain accountable. So POPIA compliance is something that everyone in the organization needs to fully buy into. So now, what actually happens if you don't? Well, all sorts of trouble. The information regulator has a lot of enforcement power to have you prosecuted or to impose fines of up to 10 million rand. And yes, people can go to jail too. I'm not even talking about what happens if there is a data breach. Your systems, computers, servers, or any form of technology may be hacked, or an employee may steal, leak data, or someone may leave confidential documents in their car and it gets stolen. There's actually plenty more examples. For instance, if someone leaves a USB stick lying around, or perhaps their email is open, or perhaps they send an email to an incorrect person, even though it may say in the email this is confidential, that is still a breach of the regulation. Essentially, you can also be sued for damages, and your business reputation will likely take a huge knock. There is no place to hide business under POPIA. All data breaches must be reported to 1. the regulator, 2. the data subjects where information has been breached. And just by the way, anyone can lay a complaint with the information regulator about non-compliance. It does not have to be the actual data subject. So think about malicious, envious, or even revengeful employees, competitors. You know what people are like. But let's go to Judith to explain this in a bit more detail. Judith, on to you.
Hello everybody. Today we're going to be talking about non-compliance in terms of POPI and the enforcement provisions. Now, according to section 19 of the Act, it is the duty of the responsible party, so such as a company or a business, to secure the integrity and confidentiality of the personal information in its possession or control by taking appropriate, reasonable, technical and organizational measures to prevent the loss of or damage to or the unauthorized destruction of personal information, and also unlawful access to or processing of such personal information. In doing this, the responsible party must have due regard to generally accepted information security practices and procedures, which may apply to it generally or be required in terms of specific industry or professional rules and regulations. For example, think about the situation in the healthcare sector in terms of the personal information that they have to juggle, or schools even, as opposed to that of a small retail business. So what happens if this duty of the responsible party is not complied with? There are different types of infringements depending on what was done or not done in accordance with the Act. So firstly, we get criminal offences, such as obstructing the information regulator or giving false statements or unauthorized disclosure of personal information and so on. And that may lead to a fine and or imprisonment of between 1 and 10 years, depending on which section of the Act has been transgressed. Then there's also civil suits, where the organization can be sued for damages that was incurred as a result of a data breach, processing breaches, or other forms of non-compliance relating to things such as non-notification when there was security compromise or a data breach, direct marketing for example, unsolicited electronic communications, automated decision making, which is not allowed under the Act, cross-border transfers of information without the necessary authorization, or breach of a code of conduct as issued by the regulator. So when we talk about data breaches, don't just think about like hacking. Think of situations such as finding out that sensitive information on an old computer that you sold online suddenly surfaced, or a manager's cell phone is stolen with a lot of personal information on it, or HR files are not locked up securely. All of those could fall under these types of infringements. The data subject can either bring the civil suit for damages themselves against the organization, or they can ask the regulator to sue on their behalf. There's also the potential that interdicts may be obtained against the organization to take measures to stop the data breach or whatever the case may be. Now, the information regulator, of course, has huge powers to investigate any type of complaint from anyone, to apply for warrants, to issue summonses for witnesses or for documents, and can also issue administrative fines. There are some defenses available to all of these things. They are few and far between. But one thing is that ignorance of the law is definitely not an excuse. You won't get away with that one. Then there, of course, is what is known as vicarious liability. Fancy term, but it's not something that's new to our law. That is when an employer can, for example, be sued for a data breach resulting from the actions of one or more of its employees. Now, what is important here is that the data subject does not have to prove that the company was negligent or non-compliant. If an individual employee caused the breach by going rogue or by being negligent, then the company can nevertheless still be held liable, even if it had done everything right. Sounds a bit unfair, doesn't it? If the company can, however, show that it has been compliant and that it had taken reasonable care in terms of POPIA, then this may well reduce the amount of a fine or damages that the company may be ordered to pay in a situation like this, even if technically they might be held liable in terms of the law. So POPI compliance, that's the main thing to understand. POPI compliance should not be seen as a tick box exercise based on some generic template and for the sake of compliance only. It is really, really, truly about limiting your organization's risk profiles in very real terms. So doing a proper risk assessment and then taking all reasonable steps to avoid or minimize those risks, whether those are physical or technological or procedural, whatever is necessary in terms of that risk assessment. One important thing, and this is for the decision makers, a director or even a board of directors may, for example, be held accountable for future breaches of POPI due to a failure to take reasonable steps in applying appropriate principles of IT governance to prevent that. But as I said before, never fear. We are here to help you. Reach out if you need help or advice. And as always, keep watching our Poppy Bites. Back to you, Warren.
Thanks again, Judith. So if you did not think papaya was a big deal up till now, think again. It really is not optional, and in addition, you will earn the trust of your customers and others you interact with if they feel that personal information is looked after properly, showing them the processes, letting them know everything is in order, that kind of thing to comfort people, because that is exactly what your customers need. It is the comfort in knowing the information is not getting leaked. Compliance will take a mix of legal, technological, and change management solutions, and really, the sooner you start, the better. I have recently put up a video on one of the products that we use to help along your compliance level. See the video link or that I thing over here. Yeah, it'll appear in the video. Basically what it is it's a risk management assessment. It'll give you your potential liability, it will give you your unprotected data that needs to be protected, and it gives you a whole bunch of other information as to what's in your environment, such as credit card details, banking details. It searches within emails, it searches within PDF documents, it searches within every. You could probably encrypt the document and it might be able to search into that. Pretty cool, it's pretty good, and it's pretty useful. Anyways guys, that's it for today. I hope you like the new lighting effect. I'm trying something new. But yes, if you have any questions or if you have any suggestions or anything really, do not hesitate to contact us and I will speak to you soon. Cheers for now.